there's a
I said there's
treehouse.
a treehouse up there, so I fell
Oh,
from it.
there is? I didn't know that. How do you get up there? Is there a portal? Looks
What do you want us to become? Like what, with the hops and stuff. Some of them
That's
like
such a curious kibble question. What are we going to be when we grow up? Is there a destination for this evolution? Oh, that's so adorable.
yeah.
I want you to
How
become human. So basically, this
oh
is wait, I'm not human yet? You are human. And think about it like we used to believe that there were only 5 senses. And now I think the count is 17. 17 senses.
17. Oh my goodness.
But we believed there were 5, and so we only looked for the world through 5 senses. By bringing our emotions into our bodies and learning to practice those on purpose, what happens is the world diversifies. The colors become gradients, and we start to organize our memories backwards and forwards really differently. Our memories start to become a part of us, not our fault, but our flow. We, and I'll say this for me because I've seen this and I also experienced this, is when I teach and when I guide and when I facilitate and I travel to those memories with you that I tell you about, I've been to those memories before in front of people, sometimes really, really upset. Like that one I told you about the ripped arm. That was a really shameful memory for me. I passed out after that and almost threw up, and it was a horrible moment to be kind of shamed and sutured without anything at the same time. And I look back on that moment and I think, wow, I love that I could have brought all my emotions there to heal it as much as possible for me and then have it as a medicinal ICU for Alan when Alan was describing how sadness felt. Sadness is a wound that doesn't let me enjoy being here and present. Part of how I can remember things that well is because I use my emotions to encode these memories very consciously. And I can travel back more and more to memories as if I was really there all over again. Because instead of feeling like I'm wrong or bad in my feelings, I'm just human. And it allows me to activate all my senses and trust every moment as exactly what is true. So the journey we're going on is about releasing our stories of these emotions that we've been told make us bad, wrong, and different, and too much and not enough. Releasing the stories and coming back to my emotions connect me to me, my emotions connect me to you. And if we learn to pay attention to that dance of those feelings and we learn to honor them and name them as part of what's present in every moment, we grow a different kind of relationship. It's a relationship that can get very serious very quickly. And it can also laugh with snorting, spit laughter also very quickly. It is a radically present relationship. And part of the journey to get there is to ring the bells of all those ick places, like a ritual, like lighting candles every day. Welcome back.
Alan.
Hey. So that is, I am wishing for you to become human and learn to trust yourselves. There is something that has happened in this society where doctors know our bodies better than us, and psychologists know our emotions better than us. And I'm here to undo that. I'm here to teach you to trust yourself before you trust me and before you trust anyone else. And when you have that kind of permission and that kind of invitation, the backbone starts to line up on itself and the world becomes many. Exactly. That's right. The world becomes many pathways at the same time. Just like virtual reality, all these worlds exist, whether we're in them or not. And then we can go and release other people and play in this fantasy and play in the distraction. And then someday be like, I'm ready to be in the very high pixelated multisensory dimension. I'm ready to be in my physical reality and try some of the stuff that I'm learning in here out there. I'm going to let how I make a habit in here of doing courageous and brave and hard things, I'm going to make that my truth in the physical space. And that's the full loop of human on purpose. Thank you for the question, Kibble. There's an idea inside of people many times because we've all had the sales and we've all had the classrooms that are like, your learning objectives are X, Y, and Z. And you won't get an A unless you do this or that thing. That's not this. This is show up, be as real as you can, say you're sorry if you push too hard, try to do it better next time, and then show up again. That's the cycle. It's really quite simple, but the simplest stuff is the hardest stuff to do. Because I don't know about you, but I can talk myself out of so many things. And when you start to talk yourself out of coming here, I want you to remember that my ultimate goal for you is to be purposeful on your path, more purposeful than you were already. Not assuming you weren't, but just more knowing your choice is the best choice for you. And if your path isn't to come here, we'll miss you. I'll miss you. And also check in on the Discord and say what your path was. And let us know that you're okay. There's a time-limited journey to this. And then we will see if by the end of these 12 weeks, we're about halfway through right now, this group is able to give back to me and the people who are holding me and holding you enough to recycle it and do it again. And if not, then that just means a longer recovery in between doing this. Last time it was about a year. But how it fits into Bridgemakers, because Bridgemakers is about leadership. It fits into Bridgemakers because any leaders that work with me as leaders in training need to have a practice with their emotional fluency. If leaders cannot name their emotions and practice that with each other, then they have a very short cycle in leadership. They will burn out quickly. The human on purpose part of Bridgemakers is the go back on the ground and just be in the grunge with everybody and keep going. It's the full cycle. Bridgemakers has some really big goals. It's bigger than virtual reality. It's about using virtual reality as a community template to build better communities in physical reality. That's a freaking lofty vision that's going to take decades to manifest. But human on purpose, when I'm in this group, there's no Bridgemakers. There's no Ruth in California and all of you where you are. There's just this moment. That's what we're cooking every time, right here. That's it. And then we go back, and then we forget each other, and then we misunderstand each other, and then we have all the things happen. But this is the ritual that I believe started most religions. Is all these people got together, they built a fire, They danced around that fire, they sang a song, and then they had this moment that transcended everything they thought you did around a fire when you told stories. It swept them into something else. Or cults, that's true. But cults, if you look up their definition in some places, are baby religions that have not survived yet for longer than 100 years. Cult is the beginning of culture. And in its raw form, it kind of can be acidic and really damaging and harmful. But if a cult survives a couple generations, it's usually been whittled down and polished off and has embedded a lot of human culture and ritual stories to help humans survive in the places they are. And can we peel? Yes, exactly. Can we peel those beliefs that bind us to each other off and come back to what I almost feel like is the God particle, which is us? That's it. It's really simple. What are we right now together? And in order to discover that, we've got to get really good at recognizing when the emotions shift, because it's kind of like a weather barometer. We are the God particle. It's kind of like a weather barometer on a ship. Everybody has a different weather setting going on. And the only true weather setting is the one between all of us. But we're not going to know that if we don't name the weather we're seeing and feeling. So we can't find that middle space until we get really good at saying hard things to each other and backing off when it's too much and saying I'm sorry and getting good at that too. So thank you for hearing that. Human on Purpose is where I come home. And I'm just a human being curious about what it's like to be a human being. And that's it. And for a moment today, I didn't have to feel my big, terrible traumas. And my chest is more released than when I started tonight. And I'm more grounded and more present. So that's what you all gave to me. And I'll tell you, when I've been in your shoes, and whatever measure that can be true, this kind of feels absurd and a little bit lost all the time. And just like, what are we really doing here? That's totally normal. And I will also tell you that when these moments close, it is a very frequently a terrible nostalgia that comes over us that cannot be shaken, but only given a place to live inside. We can never be in this moment again. And we're doing something kind of weird and interesting and messy together. And then it'll be over. And the flow and the rhythms will take us other places. But while we're here, let's try again. Let's do it better. Goodbye, hop of sadness. That's right. We're grieving our sadness. No more sadness after this. Except sadness shows up in all the hard emotions. Sadness is the release. What a perfect treehouse of a space to say goodbye to sadness. We need a song to commemorate it. If only Skin was here. Have you ever heard the phrase, parting is such sweet sorrow? I haven't had many of those moments in my life. And I started to get really resentful about that a while ago. I was like, why don't I get to have parting is such sweet sorrow? And what I realized was I wasn't really good at sitting with the awkwardness around parting and staying there and being curious and waiting. I'm still learning how to do that. I kind of like to vanish when time is up many times. I don't know if you've noticed that, but I'm well known in my friend circles for hanging up before people have even said goodbye. I'm like, okay, bye. So one of my closer friends, she as soon as she starts to get a whiff that I'm about to leave, she'll be like, bye. She tries to beat me to it. It's kind of annoying. And I'm not trying to be, I'm just done. I'm like, you're done, I'm done, bye. And then I do this unceremoniously at times. I haven't said bye when we parted ways for one. Yes. And so this is my village. We all are looking for our village in the world. And so you might not be my village. We might be temporary mirrors for village. But my village, someday, and slowly that village is growing. My village are going to be people who sit for a long time with me in goodbyes and really just let it flow and let it be ick and let it be hard and let us say all the things we forgot to say to each other that are kind of like, wow, we kind of left that there and have avoided it this whole time. And now we can't fix it. Okay. What else? So my village will sit with me in the goodbyes and just be there. And maybe sometimes find those sweet sorrow moments. I don't know if any of you are old enough to have been in the era where you could walk people to the gate at the airport, but I was in that era. You only had to present your full ticket at right before you got on the plane. And so you would sit right outside the plane with people, sometimes for hours, because it was awkward to leave before they had to really, really go. There are some cool moments in that we don't have anymore. We got to make more of those plane moments. I think our villages can be a little disparate. We know people from all different contexts. One here, one here. Exactly. Yeah. It seriously is a very radical thing to do this in virtual reality. It's kind of a paradox. I'm like, let's feel our feelings in our bodies, even though you literally have put headsets on to leave your bodies. Like we're doing a weird push-pull, but there's a possibility we can discover a liminal space together by doing this. And then if you can find that chemistry with this group, you can go out and grow that chemistry elsewhere in physical and virtual. So I hope that answered your question, Kibble. I want you to be human. And for whoever, wow, you had a meow. For whoever.
Yeah, my avatar do this.
That's great. For whoever is feeling, you know, like, when does this end? Do we get a certificate at the end of this? Whatever. Yeah, we probably have about 6 more weeks, and then we'll see where we're at that point. But if you've come to most of the groups and we can have a conversation about emotions and you've actually been practicing and learning what those are for you, I do think there is certificates for this in the future. Because this is a level of emotional fluency most people will never get in their whole life. So, yeah, I might want you to be certified enough to teach a human on purpose group. I think VR excites particular senses and deprives others. So when the headset comes off, that flips. Yes, exactly. That's a really great way to put it. Yeah. Meow.
Oh, thank you.
Give me your tail.
Pushing my tail.
You're adorable.
Pushing my tail.
Okay, my
Grabbing
dears.
it, not pushing
Speaking of goodbyes, I'm going to say goodnight. I've had a very long day.
Good night.
Oh,
Good night.
oh
Good
my
night.
god. Good
Good night.
night.
Good night. Good night.
Good night,
Good
Freya.
night.
Good night.
I'm tuckered.
Good night. Good night. Oh,
Bye,
we're
Kibble.
saying good night to you too.
Bye,
Good
guys.
night,
Take care.
everybody.
Yeah, good night, everyone.
That's so
Bye.
fun.
You react when I take
Or
your
puke.
tail.